What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After Season 9, The Tell All Part 3. So it starts off where we left off with Brandon and Julia. Brandon's parents have just joined the Tell All remotely, and they finally get to tell Brandon's parents that Julia is pregnant. And the way that Betty and Ron reacted to the news of the pregnancy, it was just electrifying. They were so excited. They were so happy. Betty couldn't even sit in her seat. She kept on jumping up, clapping. They kept on hugging each other. They were so happy. They were so excited to hear this news that everybody like caught the feels. Like everybody on stage was crying. Sean Robinson was crying. Julie and Brandon were crying. It was just a beautiful moment to see Brandon's parents react to the news that they're going to become grandparents and that their son, the one thing that he wanted more than anything in the world, that he was finally going to be able to get. So their reaction to the news was absolutely electrifying, and it was really fun to see how excited they were about Julia being pregnant. So they asked Julia how far along she was. She said that she was 6 months along, and Betty immediately says, "Oh, I'm on it. I'm on it." I don't know what she meant by that. It's almost as if she was gonna try to take charge of something. Um, but I guess we'll give her a pass because she was just riding this wave of becoming a grandma. So Betty also said that she wished that they were the first people that they told, because I think Julia told them that they did just tell her parents as well. And Julia made sure to emphasize that we just told my parents seconds ago, so that there wouldn't be any type of misunderstanding that her parents knew way before them. So Julia emphasized, "We just told my parents a few seconds ago." Betty, of course, wanted to know. She wanted to be one of the first people to know. She also was like, "Well, I wish you would have told me as soon as they gotten the positive pregnancy test." Of course, we understand, Betty, that you wanted to know that, but you got a history with your daughter-in-law. So Julia talks about how her pregnancy is very high risk, and so she doesn't want anybody else to know. She makes them swear to her that they will not tell anybody at all. Betty says, "I'm going to shout it from the mountaintop. I'm going to tell everybody that I'm going to be a grandmother." And of course, well, not of course, hopefully she was joking when she said that, but Brandon and Julia were like very serious. Okay, they didn't take any of her jokes lightly. And they're like, "No, we are dead serious. Do not tell anybody about this pregnancy." Which is funny that they're saying that because they're on TV talking about it. But understandably, this was way before. This was way before. So she also talks about Betty also talks about how her own pregnancy with Brandon was high risk, and so she understands where Julia is coming from, and so she promises that she's not going to tell anybody. Julia said that she is going to be setting boundaries with her in-laws, and so Sean asked, or somebody asked, "Will the in-laws be allowed in the delivery room?" And Julia says, "Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there." So overall, it was a positive segment. It was a good segment. I kind of was worried that maybe Betty would have been upset that they were not the very first people to get the news, or that they had waited so long to tell them. I thought that, she was going to let that override her joy and her excitement, but no, she was more excited than anything else. And maybe after the dust has settled and she's been able to process everything, maybe then she'll start complaining about, "Well, why didn't we know earlier? Why weren't we the first ones to find out instead of your parents?" And eventually she's going to find out that the very first people to have found out about it were their friends. So maybe after the dust settles, she'll say something about it. But for right now, she was just so overcome with happiness and joy and excitement that Julie and Brandon were pregnant. Then they take a break. Yara tells Julia that during their break, Yara tells Julia that Jovi knew that she was pregnant because, Jovi was using all of his context clues and putting things together, and I figured out that Julia was probably pregnant. Then they get back to the tell-all, and next up is Georgie, Darcy, and Darcy's boobs, because Darcy's boobs were definitely making an appearance. And I remember I think it was in the Tell All Part 1, when they first got on stage, Darcy was fidgeting with her dress and she says something like, well, I hope my boobs don't pop out. Well, they're not going to pop out, Darcy, if you get something that's the proper size. You don't have to be completely covered up, but damn, girl. I mean, it was more flesh exposed than was covered up on top. That dress was barely holding on to dear life. Like, I don't understand why we have to do that. Why we have to be so far out there with the cleavage and the boobs. I mean, 90% of her boobs were exposed, but whatever. So the question was, Georgie, how important is it for you to have a child? And he basically gave a very vague answer, like, oh, I've been thinking about it. And, when I saw my sister in Bulgaria, blah, 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 it just had me thinking. So he didn't say, like, it's very important for me to have a child, or, it's not that much of a priority. He didn't really give a definite answer because I don't think he really wants to have a child. I don't think that, because who are you going to have a child with, Georgie? Your wife cannot have any children. Well, we'll get to all of that later, but who are you going to have a child with? If you were to say, yes, it's very important for me to have a child, and you don't plan on leaving Darcy, which I think maybe you are, but if you're not planning on leaving Darcy and Darcy's not planning on leaving you, who are you going to have this child with? So he gave a very vague answer to that question. Darcy said everything changed after they got married. And I was like, wow. You would think that there was at least like a honeymoon phase. We had a couple of good years before things went downhill. But no, Darcy said everything changed in their relationship right after they got married. Then the question was, is Georgie using the kid thing as an exit strategy? I think Darcy said yes. I think so too. I think he's using this whole I need to have a child thing as a way to get out of this marriage. But you know what? Let me tell you, I take it back. I take it back. I take it all the way back. I don't know if Georgie wants to leave Darcy or not. What I do know is he's bringing up this kid thing. This is the foundation. This is the basis of why they're going to appear on The Last Resort. That's why I think this kid thing is coming up. Not because Georgie is considering to have a child. I think that they have to have a reason to go on The Last Resort. So they have to act like there's a major rift in their marriage, and they're going through some serious marital issues to qualify to get on The Last Resort. So this is what they've trumped up together. Cara said that it's pretty convenient that he brings up wanting to have kids right after he got his citizenship. So she's implying that he got his citizenship from Darcy and now he's ready to bounce. Stacy and Florian came out. Stacy also thinks that it's suspicious that out of the blue, just completely out of the clear blue sky, Georgie now wants to have children. If he wants kids, the question was, if he wants kids, who the hell is he going to have the kids with? Georgie says that they have options. And they talk about surrogacy with donor eggs. And Darcy was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to raise a child that's not biologically mine. I'm just not going to do that. Neither one of them wants to go through adoption. So, Georgie, if you really are serious about having kids, who are you going to have these kids with? Who are you going to have these kids with? And why would you leave Darcy because she can't give you a child when you never really wanted to have children to begin with? That was never in your plan to have children. But now you're going to bring up wanting kids? It's just stupid. It's so stupid to me. And like I said, it's just a way for them to get on The Last Resort. Georgie says that he loves Darcy's okay, so the thing is that, when they were talking about donor eggs and a surrogacy and all of that, Darcy was like, I'm not going to raise kids that are not mine. And Georgie said, but I love your children like they're my own, and they're not biologically mine, but I still love your children. And then someone said on stage, I don't know if it was Cara or Stacy, one of them said, but her kids are grown. So it's not like you're part of that day-to-day raising of a child from infancy into adulthood. So it's completely different. The fact that you have love for her daughters is completely different from expecting her to love and care for a child from the time that it's born until it's an adult. That's asking a lot of her to do. You just jumped into this late in the game and her kids are already grown. And of course, it's easy for you to have love for them because they're never really around. They talk about Darcy's her risque fashion, and they played the clip where Darcy and Georgie were packing up their bags, getting ready to leave for Bulgaria, and Georgie was having an issue with her attire and saying that if she dresses in Bulgaria the way she dresses in Miami, she's just going to look like a prostitute, a whore, a hoe out there in those Bulgaria streets. So Sean asked Georgie, do you regret calling her that? And Georgie says, I didn't call her those things. I just said that if she were to dress like that in Bulgaria, that's how she would be perceived. Tomato, tomato. Um, what else? Y'all, I was so bored. Okay, the question then was, why did it take Georgie 5 years to introduce Darcy to his family? And the implication is that, are you ashamed of her? Were you trying to hide her? Why did it take you 5 years to finally introduce her to your family? Georgie said, well, they don't speak English and she doesn't speak Bulgarian. So there was a language barrier. Like, and the funny thing is, when he said that, nobody like held him to that. Like, I think he should have been questioned even more about that, because that's a load of crap. That answer made absolutely no sense. And someone should have dug deeper into, like, are you kidding me? You're telling us that with Google Translate and with all the options that we have in translating languages, you're telling us that the only reason why you did not introduce your wife to your family was because they didn't speak the same language? Are you kidding me? They couldn't use Google Translate? You could have hired a translator. There's probably people out there who will translate for free. What the hell are you talking about? You could have translated. You speak both. You could have translated for your family and Darcy. I wish that they would have dug deeper, because that answer was just a huge cop out. They talk about Georgie hiding his finances. So they play the clip where Georgie told Darcy that she and her sister were broke. They play the clip when they were at the hotel and they're about to leave Bulgaria. And this is where Darcy got on his case about, you don't tell me how much money you're making and you're trying to buy this apartment. I didn't even know about it. You're doing all these things in secret. And he said something about, oh, and then Darcy said, you know what? I think you're just after me for my money. Let me write you a check and you just take all my money. And he was like, you don't have any money. You're broke. You and your sister. So they asked him, why did you say that? And Georgie says that they always tell me, take my money. You can have my money. And he was like, oh, why are they saying that when they don't even have any money? Georgie says that he is not with her for the money. Darcy said that you would not have married me if I didn't have any money. This relationship is so transactional. I don't know who the hell they think they're fooling. I don't know who the hell they think they're fooling. Darcy wanted a young, hot guy, a boy toy. And the only way that she could properly attract one is to lure him in with money. Georgie is looking for an opportunity. Okay. He's looking for an opportunity to get citizenship, to have some woman take care of him. He's looking for an opportunity. And that's how they linked up. This is a sugar mama, sugar baby story. This is exactly what it is. It's a very transactional relationship. I don't know why they think they're fooling us into believing that these people like met and fell in love and then got married. Are you kidding me? Anyway, Georgie denies that he's with her for the money, but Darcy says if I didn't have any money, he would never have married me. Georgie says that she's an overspender and she wastes her money on clothes and shoes and cosmetic surgery, but it's her money. It seems like she hasn't missed a meal, so they're not like starving. There's a roof over your head, food in the refrigerator, clothes on your back. So the bills are being taken care of. And then whatever she wants to do after that is up to her. That's her money. She can spend her money on whatever that. It's not like you're giving her money and she's wasting it. This is money that she's earning on her own and she's spending it the way she wants to spend it. You can't control her money, Georgie. If you're not willing to take care of her, you have no say so in how she spends her money. Darcy said the day after they got married, Georgie had told her that if they ever got a divorce, that she would be responsible for him for the next 10 years. I'm not exactly sure what the implication was when she said that, or was she trying to imply that, he's on easy street, like now that we're married, he's going to be living on easy street for the next 10 years because I have to take care of him for the next 10 years. I don't know why she brought that up, but I guess it was her trying to prove that this man is just using me for money. Um, he didn't talk about being with me for the rest of his life, loving me forever. Well, as soon as we got married, he just talked about how if we got a divorce, I would have to take care of him for the next 10 years. Georgie tried to backpedal when she said that. Oh, I didn't mean it like that, or I didn't say it like that. So he tried to backpedal. Darcy wasn't going to put up with this lie, so she kept on interrupting him, saying, "You're lying. You know you said that," because he was trying to deny either that he said it or that he said it in the way that she implied that he said it. And she was like, "Shut up. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying. You know you said it like that." And then uh, she said that she should have listened to her dad and she should have talked to an attorney before she married Georgie, because she says in this marriage, I don't think they have a prenup. I don't think they have a prenup. In this marriage, she stands to lose a whole lot more than him. She is risking a lot if she were to divorce him. And Georgie said, well, I have a lot to lose as well. And Darcy says, well, then go. If you have a lot to lose, then just go. Go find your baby mama. When she said, go find your baby mama, that's when I woke up. I thought that was so funny. She said, go find your baby mama. Stacy says that Georgie is not in it for the long haul. In fact, neither is Florian. So now it became the Stacy and Florian hour. I'm like, why are we talking about Stacy and Florian? They were not part of the cast this season. They were just, friend of supporting characters. Like, why are we spending so much time on Stacy and Florian? So Stacy talks about how Florian moved out, I think like 5 or 6 months prior. He's been living in Connecticut. She's still in Florida. They rarely see each other. He got a job in Connecticut doing woodwork, and that he also just got his citizenship. So Stacy also questions the timing of Florian moving out right after he got his citizenship. Now, Florian said that he did not move out after he got his citizenship. He said that he got his citizenship after moving out, I think is what he said. He left before he got his citizenship. Stacy thinks that Florian has another woman. Stacy says she feels abandoned and frauded. Darcy says that both Georgie and Florian are the same and they both have the same red flags. Yes, of course are the same, because you and your sister do everything the same. You even choose the same type of men. And y'all been doing this for ever since they first got their first television show. What was it, like 20, 30 years ago when they first appeared on television? They were married to foreign men back then. I think they were all living together in one house. I forgot what the show was called. Was it called The Twin Life or something? I don't know. I think it was on TV. I've seen clips of this show on social media, and it was some show that they had when they were like in their 20s or early 30s or something. And both of them, Stacy and Darcy, I think were living together in one house with both of their husbands and all their children. So y'all are always doing the same thing. Of course, y'all are going to choose men who have the same exact red flags. Darcy talked about how there's going to be a twin divorce. They talk about Darcy and Georgie's sex life or lack thereof. It's been 6 months since they've had sex. Darcy wants to feel emotionally safe, and she feels like she's not getting that from him. So when she said that, the way that I interpreted is, I don't want to have sex with you just for you to get your kicks off. I want to have sex with you because we are in a loving, healthy relationship, and this is how we express love to each other. I don't want it to be, or you're just using my body just to get off, and then you roll around, you turn over and go to sleep. I think that's what I interpreted when she said that she does want to have sex with them. She does want to, but she wants to do it where she can feel safe and emotionally safe and protected and loved and cared for, and not just wham bam thank you ma'am, and then 3 seconds later he's snoring. So like he's just using you to satisfy his own needs. Like it's not even a connection or anything. It's not an act of love. So I totally understood that when she said that. Jovi, they talk about Georgie being extremely flirtatious when they go to parties, when they go to events. He's down with the ladies and the ladies are down with him. And Stacy talks about how he'll disappear for like an hour when they're at an event. Georgie will disappear for an hour. And then like when they find him again, he's like surrounded by women, hot women. Darcy made it a point to let us know, hot women. So Georgie says, I'm networking. Is this real? Are these people for real? Y'all, I think I'm gonna have to watch The Last Resort if Darcy and George are on The Last Resort, because Darcy, when she gets mad at Georgie, it is hilarious. It is so funny to me. I don't know if she's acting or she's really like this. It is hilarious when she gets mad at that man. And so then they talk about this incident. Well, he said, like I said, Georgie says he's networking. Like, shut up, Georgie. Shut up. Stop with the lies. Then they talk about how some hot woman was texting Georgie because Georgie manages a spa or something. And so this woman that he met at the, I guess at a party or at the spa or something, wanted to go to the spa, but the doors were locked. And so she was texting Georgie. And Darcy's like, why are you texting her? Why is she texting you? And so they're telling this story. I think Stacy was telling this story. You know, how this woman was texting Georgie, and Darcy's like, yeah, a hot woman. Okay, Georgie, let's say, okay, he's crazy. Now, Cara really got pissed me off. Cara really pissed me off because Cara kept on, she felt like it was her job, it was her duty to constantly call out Georgie for being unfaithful and too flirtatious and just acting really inappropriate and exhibiting very questionable behavior as a husband to Darcy. And I'm like, Cara, game recognizes game, right? You're saying all of this because this is how you are treating Guillermo. Okay, you're calling out all of Georgie's, I don't know, all of his questionable behavior, his unfaithful behavior. You're questioning all of this because you recognize these behaviors. You recognize what he's doing because you are doing it yourself. So, like, you calling him out is extremely hypocritical. Everything that you're accusing him of doing, people have accused you of doing to Guillermo when you're at these clubs and you're performing and you're super, super flirtatious and you disappear and you're gone for hours. You don't come home until 4 o'clock in the morning. Cara, shut the hell up. Shut up, Cara. Like, how dare you want to call out someone else for being unfaithful. When I say unfaithful, I don't know if Georgie's having sex with these women or not, but exhibiting behavior that could make people think that he might be cheating on. How dare you call him out for that? And you're doing the same exact thing to the man sitting next to you. And I wish Guillermo would have been like, girl, shut the hell up. You're doing the same exact thing to me. When we go to these damn nightclubs that you're performing at, you are very flirtatious. You know, you have a couple of drinks and you're all over everybody. Now shut the hell up and sit down. So then it becomes the Florian and Jasmine hour because we know that Florian and Jasmine, they have beef that started way back at the last resort. According to Jasmine, Florian was a really good friend of hers. She confided in him about everything. And then all of a sudden he turned on her and became really buddy and he was riding hard for Gino. When it all came out that Jasmine wanted an open marriage and that she was seeing Matt and all this and that. So when all of that came out, that's when Florian decided to jump the Jasmine ship and hop on the Gino ship. And so Jasmine feels very betrayed by that. So Jasmine and Florian, they're going back and forth on stage. She accused Florian of cheating on Stacy. He talked about how her saying she loved Gino was weird right after she had a baby with somebody else. You're talking about how much you love Gino, how obsessed you are with Gino, blah, 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 right after you had a baby with somebody else. She called him a scammer. Now, some might say that that's the pot calling the kettle black for Jasmine to call Florian a scammer because a lot of people think that Jasmine scammed Gino. So that was that whole exchange. I had no interest in watching Jasmine and Florian go back and forth because I saw enough of it on the last resort. Everybody's back at the mansion. It's the end of the day. How long is Matt? So they're all at, so a group of people have gathered around. I don't know who it was. It was Andre, it was Jovi, and their wives. And they're sitting there with Jasmine and Matt. And the question is, how long is Matt willing to wait for Jasmine? And Jasmine was like, I didn't think that there was a deadline for this, an expiration date for this. And she said that Matt had told her that he was giving her all the time that she needed to heal. And Jovi was like, of course there's an expiration date. This man can't wait forever. And Matt said that I'm not going to give like a specific time frame of when I'm going to leave if it ever gets to that. Just when the time is right, the time is right for me to leave. When I feel like it's time for me to go, that's when I'll go. But I'm not going to wait around forever. There's no chemistry between Matt and Jasmine. Yes, they have sex, and maybe it's the hottest sex they've ever had in their lives or whatever. But as far as like that emotional connection, that chemistry as a couple that can, that is beyond the bedroom, they don't have that. They don't have that at all because, adult film actors can have great sex. It doesn't mean that they are a couple and that they love each other, right? So, Jasmine and Matt, to me, they just I just don't see it. I don't see any type of electricity between them, any type of love, adoration, affection. They're very distant, like emotionally distant with one another. They act like basically like they're paid actors to act like a couple that had a baby and to pretend like they're in love. I don't see it. I don't see any type of real true love between them. So Matt had said that this was the day prior, a couple of days prior, whenever it was, when they were playing Truth or Dare. Darcy had asked Matt, would you have proposed to Jasmine if y'all didn't have a baby? And Matt had said probably not. So they bring this up in this conversation. Matt had said that but for the baby, he would not have proposed to Jasmine. And that really kind of hurt Jasmine's feelings. Yeah, but I mean, there's no chemistry between Jasmine. You don't love this man. You don't love Matt. Maybe you love Gino. Who knows? The jury's still out on that. But you for sure do not love Matt. So I don't know why that was offensive to her that he would have said that. And the man probably knows it. Lauren pulls Elizabeth to the side and she wants to talk to Elizabeth alone. So they go outside on the patio and they're basically talking about these damn text messages again. The whole body shaming thing. How Lauren once again is trying to prove her case to Elizabeth that I would never have used the words body, that my husband body shames me. I never would have said that. And Elizabeth said you were going through a really dark time with Alex, and he was being really harsh with you regarding your body image and your weight and how you looked. He was being very critical of you. And Elizabeth says again, she was like, y'all were going through a rough patch. It's okay. Just admit that you're going through a rough patch. Me and Andre are going through a rough patch right now. We even talked about divorce. So maybe they're going to be the next ones on the last resort. I really don't care. I don't believe that Elizabeth and Andre are going through a rough patch. Elizabeth started crying, talking about how she's got nobody in her circle. And I'm like, And why is that, Elizabeth? Is it because your brute of a husband is isolating you from everybody that you've ever known? Jasmine and Florian part 2. They're all gathered at the bar drinking. Jasmine tells us that so she talks about her and Florian used to be friends, blah, 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 and that Florian backed up Gino. And how could he do that when he was her friend first? And then she starts to cry. Cara tells Matt, aren't you going to do something? Like, aren't you going to comfort your wife? I mean, not comfort your wife. Aren't you going to comfort her? And Matt was like, she's mad at me. She's mad at me too. But Matt, seriously, if this is really your girlfriend and you love her and all this and that, whatever you want us to believe, why didn't you comfort her? Or why didn't you tell Florian off? Even on the tell-all stage, when Florian was saying whatever he was saying to Jasmine, because Jasmine had told Florian, you're not a husband, you're not husband material. And then Florian tells Jasmine, and you're wife material? The way you've been acting, your wife material, Matt should have stepped in and would have been like, hey, hold up, Florian, you're going too far. You're going too far. Or something. But Matt, even when, during the season, when Jasmine had that confrontation with Gino's now ex-girlfriend, Natalie, at the birthday party, whatever that was, when Jasmine shoved Natalie, even there, when it got too crazy, Matt really didn't try to step in and try to remove her from the situation or anything like that, because he doesn't love her. There's no love with these people. There's absolutely no love between Matt and Jasmine. So Cara tells Matt, why don't you step in? Matt tells her she's mad at me too. Someone tells Florian, I think it was Stacy, tells Florian to hug Jasmine. So he gives her a hug. Who the hell cares? Gino in his drunk self is trying to go up the stairs, and he stumbled and damn near broke his hip. Matt and Jasmine leave. I guess they were going to a hotel for some reason. I don't know why they were going to. I thought that Jasmine wanted to leave by herself because she was still mad at Matt for saying that he wouldn't have proposed to her if they didn't have a baby, and also for talking about how there's an expiration date on their relationship. So I thought she wanted to get away from it all. But Matt also went outside with her. So I guess they were leaving together, waiting for their Uber. And while they're out there, Jasmine starts an argument with Matt. And she talks about the whole thing about the expiration date, like, how dare you say that at a certain point you're going to end up leaving me if I don't give you what you want. Then she starts talking about how she doesn't want to be controlled by another American. She wants to be in control of her own destiny, her own life. She doesn't want some man threatening her with deportation if she doesn't behave. So she goes on and on about that. And Jasmine says, well, I'm just going to move out. Me and Matilda, we're going to move out. And Matt's like, okay. Whatever. Matt said that he's not going to wait for her forever, just for her at some point in the future to be like, you know what? I kind of like you. And he doesn't understand how she had said yes to Gino so quickly, but then she can't say yes to him. And Jasmine said, I did not say yes to Gino so quickly. It took a year for me to introduce him to my family and to my kids. It took a year. That relationship did not move so quickly. So while they're going back and forth, Gino came out, and then he was just standing there with his hands in his pocket. Like, I didn't understand why he was out there. And that's where the episode ended. Yeah, that's where it ended. I don't really have anything else to say. I'm sick and tired of these people. I'm so sick and tired of these people. I don't care. Next week, we're supposed to have Noga, Lauren's friend Noga, supposed to join them on stage. And then we're going to be going back and forth about the whole Florida crew and all of their fake nonsense. And I'm just so totally not interested in any of that stuff. And also, Stacy and Florian, what the hell are they doing in the mansion? They were not part of the cast this season. Like I said, they were just supporting actors, friend of. What the hell are they doing staying in the mansion? Like, I didn't understand that at all. It was stupid. Anyway, that's my review. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, subscribe to my channel. Y'all, we are so close to the end of this season. We're so close. And I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.